Kaiju number 8 is humanity's most powerful weapon, but how strong is he actually? Well, you'll break down his abilities, attacks, and every feat you can imagine. As a child, Kafka made a promise with the most special person in his entire life, Mina Ashiro. But the very day he was assigned to intestine duty with Leno, a threat to their lives appeared. Leno was not properly trained yet in combat, and Kafka was an average 32-year-old man. So they both ended up in hospital. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden appearance of a small flying kaiju, with number 8 stating, "I found you." This was the first time Kafka transformed into a humanoid kaiju. The sight of him alone was enough to shock this old man clean out. Moreover, when he tried to open the windows, he completely tore them apart with just one stroke. This strength is more ridiculous than you think. After this incident, Kafka tried to control how often this power jumped out, but it would still slip without him realizing it. But the next time he transformed, he had to face Kaiju number 9's creation. Kafka jumped in and transformed into Kaiju number 8 with a fortitude of 9.8. According to the Defense Force, this reading meant that Kaiju number 8 would go down in history books as one of the greatest kaiju to ever exist. A Daikaijus. He locked in, flexing all his muscles and promising to end the kaiju with one shot. The single punch, Kafka skinned the monster first, which later vanished into thin air once again. This gives me the perfect time to mention another ability of Kaiju number 8. Kafka can power up an electrical energy that flows through his body and spine. The sheer force of this shockwave energy can destroy buildings and everything surrounding them. Now, for 2 months later, on his first official mission, Kafka noticed one of the dead Yoju started to move, also heard the Ikaruga platoon's call for aid right before the monster could spill blood. Kasholov in his kaiju form with one of the coldest anime entrances of all time. Unlike earlier, this time he was finally fighting Kaiju number 9 directly, but that did not faze Kafka, as he instantly took his enemy by surprise and landed a huge punch to 9's face. This literally beheaded him, but its head grew back and recognized Kafka as the rumored Kaiju number 8. As soon as number 9 fired his shots, Kafka roared and turned a bunch of these projectiles to dust without even moving a single muscle. That's basically tanking small missiles using just sound alone, which means that the frequency of Kafka's roar is so massive that it matches that of these projectiles, and that human bodies would not be able to endure it at all. Number 9 also noted that aside from the relentless attacks from Kafka, it could feel that something was off. Its regeneration abilities had taken a severe hit, as it couldn't repair the damage Kafka was dealing. It's possible that Kafka was damaging 9 faster than its regeneration, which is shown to be lightning quick, making it a massive feat for Kafka. That's not all. Whilst number 9 was trying to run away, Kafka punched a hole in its body. Within just a punch, Kafka managed to reduce 9 to a literal skeleton and completely expose its core, which is another major achievement because it is the most durable monster in the series. Kaiju turned massive with a fortitude of 9. In a shocking surprise, before Kafka could act, they all heard Mina's voice thanking everyone for their bravery as she shot the kaiju in the shoulder with a cannon. Kafka watched as Soshiro, Mina, and Kikaru defeated the giant kaiju and felt overwhelmed, wishing to become as strong as them one day. But as everyone cheered for victory in this rage, a massive bomb made out of the wyvern Yoju appeared in the sky, ready to blow up Tachikawa base. As Kafka jumped and transformed into his full form, it was announced he had a reading of 9.8, and Soshiro was in shock because his suspicion of Kafka had come on true. However, my man was solely focused on taking the bomb down before it killed every officer. Kafka unleashed energy that cracked and ripped up the streets of the city block, causing a mini earthquake. Furthermore, a massive shockwave was released across the cityscape and physically felt by everyone who had put up their sheens. But with a single punch, Kafka sent this small mountain or city block-sized kaiju blob into the stratosphere. The impact was so strong that the blob exploded in the sky upon impact, which destroyed portions of the city. Division 3 had no choice but to arrest and turn Kafka into the Director General of the Defense Force, Isao Shinomiya. But as Kafka kept claiming his humanity, the general started attacking it, this time using specialized kaiju weapons. A brutal battle ensued with Kafka trying his best to not transform as long as he could save himself. But it was his bad luck that he was up against the strongest soldier of the entire Defense Force. Isao's suit was made out of number 2, who was an extremely destructive Daikaiju in the past that had enough power to destroy an entire city on its own. One force blast punch from the director sent number 8 flying because it was a sonic boom, which means an immense attack power was delivered straight to Kafka's body, which is why the general was successful in exposing Kafka's heart, which was number 8's core. However, number 8 was smarter than Tao thought, as it sacrificed the body to this killing blow in order to regenerate via the core, taking his regeneration feat to an even greater level. The Kaiju managed to reconstruct a whole new body behind the general at a high speed. So essentially, if you don't destroy the core of number 8, he pretty much won't die and can just regenerate everything. According to Kaiju number 15, in order to eliminate number 8, it would require the joint forces of itself and its other Fortitude 9 siblings, implying that individually, none of them can take him down, which is proven to be true. As a result, number 8's fortitude was surpassing the general's estimations. Number 8 went berserk and began breaking the area as well as slamming Isao onto the ground with no counter. On the inside, it seemed to Kafka like number 8 was devouring him as he began to fall prey to his thoughts, while the monster was about to deal the final blow. But on the verge of giving up, he remembered the promise to Mina and took back control, stabbing himself with his bare hand to claim his humanity before collapsing. It was ordered that Kafka would be given a chance to prove his worth as a weapon of the Defense Force and shifted to Division 1. This event caused great fear in Kafka's mind, though, as he did not want to lose control over himself. Kafka was shocked to see that he couldn't transform for some reason, but this wasn't the worst problem he had. Whilst he was struggling, out of nowhere, Kaiju number 8 appeared in front of him. As soon as it identified Kafka as an opponent, it shot a projectile that broke through his suit and promised to kill Kafka to take his great power for itself. And so Kafka unlocks his strength due to her words, making 9 reveal even more of its evolution, explaining that Kafka had developed his power since the last time they met, and Kafka literally blitzes through it before it can even react. Kafka was aiming at number 9's core, but it was accidentally the ant's core with whom the monster had merged. As they began an intense fight, Kafka noted that since number 8 took over him, he had learned how to use his body better, and even realized that he hadn't drawn out number 8's power at all, meaning he had leveled up once again. Kafka landed a huge punch at 9 from the top that shattered its entire merged body. A single punch from Kafka caused 9 to also recall its clone to fuse together to gain back its strength, but both Narumi and Kafka totally pulverized it. However, they realized that all of this was a distraction from number 9's actual target, who was none other than Isao and the power of Kaiju number 2. As they hurried to rescue, they only discovered the general's injured body, but it was actually Kaiju number 9, who had taken over, leaving Narumi and Kafka to protect their comrades. Number 9 accomplished its mission and escaped once again. Both Kafka and this beast are paralleling each other. After each arc, their power levels keep increasing to match. Kafka does it through training and understanding more about number 8's abilities using human ethics, whilst 9 absorbs other monsters and is adapting his strategies. That evening, Kafka went for a jog around the base and encountered Soshiro. He expressed gratitude for his role in saving the 3rd Division during the attack by number 10. He offered to train Kafka in combat so that he could rely as little as possible on number 8's transformation. Hence, they went to Ryun's shrine to spar so that Kafka could gain a new power. The vice captain praised his progress but warned him about his tendency to become overconfident as Kaiju number 8, leading to him fighting recklessly. Regardless, receiving acknowledgement from someone as physically strong as Soshiro meant that Kafka had actually developed play. He continued to train his body using the basics of troop-style hand-to-hand combat. Kafka was learning to channel the power generated by his lower body into his fists, meaning he needed to follow 5 basic steps that the General Isao had developed and mastered. After all, he was the strongest Defense Force officer. But speaking of which, the general inside Kaiju no 9 starts to fade away as his consciousness dissipates. He realizes that the war is about to begin, stating that Kafka and the others are the only hope for humanity, where they must save the future as he believes in them. This leads to a 3-month time skip when trouble shows up at their doorstep once again. This time, Number 9 released a huge bunch of specially trained kaijus to wreak havoc in the city. Kafka was first assigned to rearguard duty to keep him as a special weapon to use against Number 9, but Kaiju 13 had other plans. It targeted the main force of Division 1 and defeated platoon leaders Shinonome and Tachibana. Just as Shinonome was about to get killed, Kafka swooped in before 13 could even land the punch. As he transformed, every kaiju in the area became aware of his presence, and it was announced that its fortitude was rising to 9.2. Before Shinonome could even warn Kafka, 13 rushed towards him with a power-packed punch, which Kafka just stopped with a single arm. He punched 13 into the roof at once, killing instantly, truly like an insect. This made even Kaiju number 15 note that Kafka was in an entirely different level. According to their orders, the Kaiju was supposed to join forces in order to eliminate him, showing that Number 9's encounters with Kafka had left a huge impression. It all comes into fruition with its divide and rule strategy. Number 9 had sent out all it could to weaken and exhaust the defense force in order to take over its main target to combine with Mina, the strongest defense force officer with 96% unleashed power. When Kurusu announced Number 9's appearance in Tachikawa, Kafka immediately became concerned for Mina's safety. He transformed without hesitation, determined to not let another tragedy like Director General Shinomaya's death occur. However, Number 9 informed him that he would not reach her in time, as the third wave had been unleashed with the Kaijus launching a coordinated assault. As he recalled his childhood promise to Mina, Kafka declared war on the new series of Daikaiju, killing them ruthlessly. Even though they were no match for Kafka, Number 9 was sure that it was enough to stop him reaching Mina in time, as Kafka needed to protect the civilians and officers. With each passing moment, Kafka was getting desperate and fighting at an insane pace against the swarm of kaiju. However, he suddenly sensed a very powerful and sinister presence who turned out to be Leno and the others. With their backing, Kafka could finally face off against Number 9 and save Mina. Much to the kaiju's surprise, its arm was immediately cut off. With just a single bout, the entire area was filled with shockwaves, causing Kafka to admit that he knew Number 9 was strong. However, he was no longer weak. Either as he came prepared. Over the months of grueling training, he had learned the troop-style hand-to-hand combat from Soshiro. Kafka landed a massive punch so powerful it put the entire city at risk, as just the two exchanging blows pushed the entire infrastructure to its absolute limits. Seeing how strong Kafka had become, Kaiju Number 9 thought he could hit him with the Una reverse and fight back with Isao Shinoyama's perfected combat style. After all, he had absorbed him. But Number 9 didn't realize, though, that he wasn't him. Knowing that this moment would come, Hoshino passed on his family's secret combat technique to Kafka. With this powerful fighting style heavily drilled into him, he was finally able to surpass Isao and hit Kaiju Number 9 with something that even it didn't know about. Squadron-style combat technique Number 3 variant, modified Twin Blast. This meant Kafka had now not only mastered Isao's combat style, but Hoshino's too. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. For more anime content, subscribe to the channel. That's it for today. Peace out.